Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Monday, December 7th. This is your daily Buckeye fix. I'm Tom Orr. The game against Michigan is in 5 days, and there is a reason we always have the Michigan game in that daily countdown at the beginning of every Morning Scoop show. It is the one game that defines every Ohio State football season, and I wanted to get an inside look at just how much it means inside the program. So my guest today is former Ohio State captain and All-American Kirk Barton. Kirk, you played under Jim Tressel, who was credited as being the guy who turned the rivalry around when he arrived in 2001. When you were getting recruited, how much did the Michigan game get talked about?
It was pretty substantial. It was one of those things where people, you don't want to lose that game, because you have a bowl game after it. Back in the day, we didn't have a Big Ten championship game, but it's a black eye when you lose for like the whole year. And back when I played, Michigan was really good. Like they're not like how they are now, how they're just kind of like on a roller coaster. They were consistently really good, and you had to find a way to win that game. It didn't have to be pretty. It didn't have to be, style points. It's, just figure out a way to win. Because I grew up in the 90s, like I'm sure you did, and the 90s were miserable to be an Ohio State fan. So it was any way we could win it, we'll take it. We don't care.
Yeah, John Cooper famously 2-10-1 against Michigan, and then Tressel shows up, and all of a sudden, overnight, since then, the Buckeyes are 17-2 against the Wolverines. Did not see that one coming when Tressel showed up in January of 2001. How much emphasis did he put on that game throughout the year, did Jim Tressel?
He did a bunch of little things that were really, really cool that I liked. He would always ask, he always did like interviews where it was like he'd interview the juniors and seniors, like the rising juniors, rising seniors. And he would ask, kind of like, what's the most important thing to beating Michigan? And it's like, toughest. Yeah. And he'd have like these little check marks, and he'd show them at a team meeting where it'd be like, toughest team wins, turnover margin, win the rushing battle, most prepared team wins. Like, there'd be tellers like toughest team was always one of the top ones. And he did these maize and blue periods that were always great, where he would basically like gut us for like 10 straight minutes during a practice. We'd like the O lineman would have to push sleds, or we'd have to there were these harness things where we drive block something and we had a teammate pull us. Everybody did something kind of miserable. It was like sprints or something that sucked. And I told Coach Meyer about it, and he adopted it, which was cool. But it's something that kind of trained you. It'd be like if I knew that Tom Orr hated doing burpees, and I said, okay, Tom, maize and blue period, you got to do 150 straight burpees. You'd be like, I hate this. This sucks. I hate Michigan. Like, I hate doing burpees, or I hate doing whatever. Like, something that you hate. And so that was just like a good little reminder. Because we do it all year round. Like, just be randomly in practices, and that was always cool. The week of the game, when you're on scout team, you actually tape your helmet, make it blue, and you put like blue electrical tape on it, and you put the wings on it. So you actually make your helmet into a Michigan helmet, which you don't do that for all the other teams when you're on scout team, but. It's all little things, and the whole room is decorated with beat Michigan. Like the weight room's got beat Michigan stuff everywhere. It's crazy. So it's important, but it's got to be important. If it's not important, then people won't be paying attention the way you need them to win the game.
Your redshirt freshman year was 2004. That was actually one of the last times Ohio State came into the game as like a major, significant, clear underdog. That was also the last time Michigan won the Big Ten, which is completely nuts. It was also not a particularly good Ohio State team. That was the game where Troy Smith had the first like really big game of his career. Ted Ginn returned that punt for a touchdown. When did you guys really think you had a legitimate chance to win that game?
Honestly, it was when Gonzalez caught the bomb. He caught a bomb early in that game. Ran past Shazor. Troy threw a perfect ball, like framed it, and Gonzo was off to the races. This is when Gonzo was like, not really Gonzo yet. He was my guy. He was still Anthony Gonzalez at that point. He wasn't Gonzo. But he scored, and I got out there, and it's just weird when you're getting into a football game and you're going against the guy you're going against. It's like, within the first 5 minutes, you can tell if this guy's going to be super legit. And the guy I was going against wasn't super legit. I thought it was not good. And Troy was just unbelievable that day. And scoring early when you're a big underdog is helpful, and getting some stops. Braylon Edwards had like 150 yards receiving at least, and he had a huge game against us, but we were able to kind of weather the storm and, Troy's legs really made the difference. I mean, he had some great scrambles that broke their backs, and that was something he did the next 2 times we played, in 05 and 06 as well.
Yeah, that was Braylon Edwards had a pretty big game, and then it was just like a classic Braylon Edwards game where he had like 1 or 2. I think it might have been a 4th down drop that was like a wow. I mean, right in the hands, just Braylon being Braylon. The next year, I mean, you mentioned Anthony Gonzalez, and he had the one big play at the beginning of 2004. He had the play in 2005. There was that dramatic comeback from down 9 in the 4th quarter. He had that big catch to set up the winning touchdown. What was it like in the huddle on those last couple drives? Down 9, it was like, I don't know, 6-7 minutes left in the game, trying to save that game, trying to save the season. What was that like?
Well, it was kind of like the inverse of the year before, because we were big favorites that year. I mean, we were going to go to the Fiesta Bowl. They were going to go to the Alamo Bowl. They had like 4 losses, but they still had great players. I mean, they still had Henne, they had Manningham, Adrian Arrington, Jason Avant was a senior. Like, they had like a bunch of NFL guys, like dudes, Jake Long, Lamar Woodley. Like, they had like some serious good players, but we had some turnovers. We did some dumb things, but again, Troy just that last quarter and a half. I mean, Troy was just the best quarter and a half any Ohio State quarterback's ever had against Michigan. Like, against a good Michigan team. Like, it's nothing against like when guys ball out against bad Michigan teams, but I mean, that was like actually a talented NFL loaded roster Michigan team, and Troy. We were confident. It was when we kept calling the same play. We kept calling the same protection with a different route. It was like a fake option protection, like a rollout thing. And that included the Santonio Holmes post touchdown where he got the flag for diving into the end zone, and it also included Gonzo's catch. So, but it was, it's one of those things, man. Like, the game, it's fun to win, but it's kind of miserable to play in because you just don't want to lose. I mean, you just do not want to lose. Like, it's just winning is super important, but not losing is like the biggest relief in the world, man. Because you just don't want to lose to those guys because you got to live with that for the rest of the year. So it's tough.
Yeah, and then the next year, I mean, that's one of those games that people are going to be talking about forever. 100 years from now, people will be talking about that 2006 Ohio State Michigan game of the century, number 1 versus number 2. And one thing, I mean, I think people remember a lot about that game. One thing I don't think people actually remember or think about what that game is. You guys completely changed your offensive game plan for that game. Like, you were one kind of team going into that game, and then like a completely different team offensively for that Michigan game. Can you explain what you did and why you did it? Yeah,
I mean, we were I formation, with a little bit of spread shotgun stuff mixed in. Since we had Troy, Ted, and we had Hartline when he was younger, Robo. We had some Roy Hall, like, as our like third options after Gonzo and Ted. But we ran the ball a lot with Beanie, and with Pittman was our feature back that year. But I'll never forget, Jim Bowman came in like to give us like the game plan on like Monday. Like, we're talking Monday, watching some film, and he's like, we're gonna spread them out. Like, we're gonna go 5 wide. And like, as a lineman, like, I hate pass blocking. Like, if I could run block every play, I'd love it because it's just more fun. But he's like, no, we're gonna spread them out because they blitz. They like to disguise their blitzes, and if we spread them out, we go 5 wide. They can't disguise anything, And Ron English was their D coordinator. He was kind of like the rising hot, the hot coordinator that was getting a lot of run because their defense was like number 1 or 2 in the country. And we knew that in that formation they were going to run cover 0 and either bring 5 or 6 every time we were in it. So, when we've only got 5 blockers and they're bringing 6, Troy's got to beat that last guy with the throw, or he's going to get hit in the teeth, and Troy was tough enough to do that. Like, I mean, NFL quarterbacks deal with that a lot, but Troy was unbelievable, and it was the worst. It's funny. The 2 worst playing surfaces I ever played on were that game and then the championship game against Florida. Those are the 2. I mean, we had a brand new field for the Michigan game, and it was just like hay. It was like they laid hay down on the ground, and people were like falling and slipping. And I know it's weird to like think of slipping on grass, but if you watch that game, you'll see guys falling. And then it's like this last Fiesta Bowl where we played Clemson, and I can still see Josh Proctor slipping and Trevor Lawrence running for 80 yards, whatever it was. It's like we have a bad surface. It's something you got to figure out early, and you got to manage it. That game in 06 had a terrible playing surface. Nothing we could do about it.
Yeah, I think that might have been the last game before they got rid of the grass and they brought the field turf in for Ohio Stadium.
God. Yeah, because 07, my senior year when we played Youngstown State, was the first game on turf, and it was hot as hell, but it was just like a gift from God that we actually had a good surface.
Yeah, that and I mean, I was down on the field for that Fiesta Bowl last year against Clemson, and I mean, you could slide your feet on the grass because they closed that roof. And there's so much humidity in that building, and it all just settles on that grass, and so the grass is just slick all game. And like
it sucks.
It's cut like a putting. It's cut like a putting green. But you look at guys slipping, and it's like, yeah, well, that's why you should put an artificial field in there because I mean, that is not unique to Ohio State games there either. You see that in NFL games all the time, guys slipping on that field.
Yeah, I mean, you watch the Cardinals game right now, and you'll see guys slipping on that stupid field. It's unbelievable they don't put field turf in.
And your last year as a player was 2007. That was the Michigan team that lost to Appalachian State. Speaking of, while you guys were roasting against Youngstown State, that was not the worst thing that happened to a Big Ten team that day. By the time they got to Ohio State, Chad Henne was pretty banged up. That was a 14-3 win that was not probably as close as the score indicated. I think that you could have let Michigan play 15 quarters and they were not going to get to 15 points. So what did it mean to you to win 4 pairs of gold pants in your last 4 years?
So, were you in the press box? Like, were you in the media then for that Appalachian State game?
Yes, but not on the Ohio State beat.
Okay, so you weren't in the press box because it was hilarious. I was doing like the post game interview for that App State game. So that was the first game ever on Big Ten Network, and they had it on in like the interview room at Ohio Stadium, and like the entire Ohio State beat like went nuts when they blocked that field goal. It was on like literally right as because that game was on the same time as ours, and like I'm up at the thing and like I couldn't believe how crazy our beat went. It was nuts. Like it was really cool. But 07 meant more than, I don't want to say it meant more than the rest of the games combined, but like when you're like a senior and you're a captain, like the last thing in the universe you want to do is lose to Michigan as a senior. I mean, because you never get another shot at it. Like it's not like you can go line it up and play them again. Like if you're golfing or playing basketball or tennis, like once you're done, you're done. You never play Michigan again, ever. So there's a lot of stress. I mean, it's weird. Like, I mean, the night before, I'll never forget, my roommate was Jimmy Cordell, and Rory Nichols, like one of my best friends from the team. And you're allowed to order a movie in the hotel room. Like everyone could order one movie, like one pay-per-view movie. And I watched Superbad, which I'd never seen before. And it was like one of the funniest movies I've ever seen in my life. So it's kind of like one of those things like in 300 when they get ready to go to war the night before they like drink and party and sleep. And then the next day it's like, it's war. I mean, that's kind of what I was like. I don't sit and stay tense like the night before the game. But the day of the game, it's like Full Metal Jacket. But I'll never forget watching Superbad with Rory Nickel. And then like it was curfew and like the second half of the movie I went and watched Jimmy Cordell in our room. And it's just, it's just one of those games where it was an ugly game. We didn't throw the ball in the second half a single time because it was pouring rain and it was like 36 degrees. So it was like freezing rain, just ice cold. And, we couldn't throw it. So we ran Beanie a million times and he had like he had 200 yards, I think, and couple touchdowns, and it was just wonderful to win, but it was such a relief to know that I never have to play these guys again. Because it's one thing to coach. Coaching is one thing, but like playing is a totally different thing. Like I don't have an impact as a grad. I mean, I have a little impact as a grad assistant or a O-line coach or whatever, but when you're actually out there doing it, it's a whole different ball of wax. So I've got a couple gold pants from coaching, and they're not nearly as relevant as the ones from actually starting and playing, because I knew if I won that game, I'd be the first guy in the history of the school to start and beat Michigan 4 times. I was the first guy to ever do that. Then like later, like Cam Hayward did it and surpassed it, but I was the first one to do it. And it's like, that was like insane at the time. So that was cool. Not gonna lie.
And you were, you mentioned being a coach later on. One of those seasons you were coach was 2011. And that was kind of a lost season in a lot of ways. That was the year between Tressel and Urban Meyer. I mean, what was it like to go up to Ann Arbor as an underdog that year, almost pull it out, and then just like fall one play short? Which, boy, I don't know if people remember that pass to Javier Posey was not too far off.
Oh my God. Braxton like came out of his shoes to throw it. I mean, it was one of those, it was just weird because like, we heard the rumors. It's like everybody else about Urban Meyer showing up and he did on like Monday after the Michigan game. He was right there getting announced and it was just surreal. I guess, we go up there. Michigan was hot. It was Brady Hoke's first year and, like the Michigan man was there and the revival of the program and all that. And, it's like, it's crazy. I wish that our people that are like supporters of the program and follow the program could go through what it's like to be a coach at Michigan because, we lose that game. And like, when before the game, we have like a golf cart that takes us up to the press box. Halftime, we have golf carts that takes us back to the locker room. Then they bring us back. But then after the game, you come down like 800 stairs from the top of the press box all the way down right in the middle of all the Michigan fans. And you've got your big red Nike coat on. And it's not scarlet coat, whatever, but it's not it's not like you're hidden. Like everybody knows it's the Ohio State coaching staff coming down and the Michigan fans are happy and drunk and you're trying not to get in fights or do anything stupid. I mean, it's just, I wish people could experience that. Like losing to Michigan and then coming down those stairs is like, because you're worried. You're like, is someone going to take a swing? Is someone drunk? Someone say something stupid to one of the older coaches? Because, I was a big dude, strong. I wasn't worried about anything. But I've got like, Doc Tressel and Jim Bowman. Like I've got like a bunch of older dudes around me. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I mean, but it sucks losing to those guys. It's the worst, miserable. Like I just glad that we don't deal with it as much as we used to in the 90s. But that was that sucked. I mean, it was weird because people really thought that they were going to kind of go like this and we were going to go like this because we had 7 losses. God, we're terrible. And Michigan won the Sugar Bowl. So everybody thought they were like the ascending program. And then Urban showed up and just flipped it all on its head. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Urban Meyer shows up 2 days later. So how did the approach to the Michigan game change when he got there?
It was really cool because he got it. He's from he's from, he'd been at Florida, but he's from Ohio. He'd been a grad assistant there with Earl Bruce. Grew up like a devout Woody guy. He gets it. He doesn't say Michigan. He was great. Some things that we helped him with though is like, I told him about the Maize and Blue period. I always tried to I didn't want to interfere with anything he did. So I knew that he was incredible at what he did. So, we used to do this little Maize and Blue period where you just kind of gut the kids, make them do up downs, whatever, make them hate it. It's kind of like a Pavlov dog training type thing. And he loved it. And then the other thing that we did is I told him, like, we don't really wear blue at all. Like, we don't wear blue. And we also don't have blue pens. Like, and I told him that, and he's like, he goes to like the operation, get rid of all the blue pens. No one's allowed to wear blue in the building. Like, I was like, okay, he's good. Like, he gets it. Like, it's not, don't come in here and you're light blue or you're dark blue or, don't be writing in your blue with your blue Bic pen. Like, we threw away all the blue markers. Like, I was like, we don't do that. And it was cool because like Fickle and Vrabel were there too, especially Luke, because Luke had been in the building for like, 8 or 9 years by then. So, or no, 10 years. I mean, he'd been there since like, 2. So he'd been there for like 10 years. So he got the no blue because that was a Tressel thing. Tressel didn't wear blue, no blue pens. Like, I mean, Tressel's the man when it came to that kind of stuff. And I just told Coach Meyer, like, this is something that I think is important. He agreed. It was great. So, and he kind of cracked down on the assistants that would wear blue and whatever. So it was cool.
We got to take a tour around the whole Woody Hayes facility like a year and a half ago, sometime last spring of 2019. Obviously, we haven't gotten to do that again this year with no one basically being able to be in the building. But one of the things you notice very quickly is there are multiple displays about the Michigan game. There are 2 different countdown clocks counting down the days, hours, minutes, and seconds to kickoff of the Michigan game. There is no Penn State wall. There is no Wisconsin wall. There is no Illinois wall. There is no Indiana wall. There are 2 huge Michigan walls, like one of them's like multiple stories. I mean, just nothing but pictures of past games, a TV constantly playing a loop of highlights. I mean, outside of that, like outside of this stuff and no blue and no blue pens and all that kind of stuff, often does Michigan actually come up during a typical week of practice or workouts? I mean, they run that team up north period every once in a while now, I know, but how often does that stuff really come up during, in August, in April, in how often does Michigan come up?
Yeah, it comes up in conditioning drills. It comes up in scouting. We're always breaking down every Michigan game just to make sure that we're up on their personnel, what they're running, what's their offense doing, who's their quarterback now. It's a daily thing. I mean, we're always looking at it. It was funny when I played, I'd always, joke with like Alex Boone and be like, Jake Long ran 5 miles today. Are you going to get your 5 miles in, or are you just going to lay on the couch and eat ice cream, whatever? It's like any little dumb thing. It doesn't even have to be true. It's just like something you just make it up and kind of push everybody. Because like, again, it's serious, man. Like, you do not want to lose that game, and you don't. You definitely don't want to lose it when it's your like I said, like my senior year, man. It was like Anthony Gonzalez, like my best friend, went pro. Teddy Ginn went pro. It's like Pitt, who's one of my other best friends, went pro, and it's like I was kind of like the last old guy. I was like the last guy from the class of 2003, and I was a fifth-year senior, so it was like. I was like the last, it was like Braveheart. I was the last dude standing, and I just did not want to lose. Like, I was like, so I was always kind of psychotic about it because, a lot of those guys hadn't played in the game. I played as a freshman, so it was like I had like a whole couple of crops of guys that had gone on and graduated, and then I was by far like the old guy on the team, and I was like, you just can't take it lightly. It doesn't matter what like the records are, or that they lost to Appy State, or whatever. Like, none of that matters. It's like you got to go up there and just play as hard as you can for as long as you can and execute. And the skill players got to make plays. Like, the Michigan game always comes down to the skill guys making plays because both the lines are usually going to be pretty good. But whoever's skill guys make the better plays usually wins the game, in my opinion.
And I mean, going back to the idea of how much focus there is just on a day-to-day basis. I mean, Woody Hayes had Michigan Mondays. I mean, Tony Gerdeman writes Michigan Monday every Monday at Buckeye Scoop. And that comes from an old Woody Hayes thing where they would, this was the big 2 little 8 days in the 1970s. And so they would spend every Monday practicing specifically for Michigan because they knew they were going to beat the brakes off of Iowa or Illinois or Purdue or whoever they were playing. So they could spend Monday just focusing on Michigan. You look at that, you contrast that and the Tressel stuff we've talked about and the Meyer stuff we've talked about to like Jim Harbaugh right now. It seems like he's going out of his way to downplay the game in a lot of ways. And that's something that John Cooper tried to do at times as well. Obviously a lot of the issues they're having right now are just talent discrepancy issues, that Ohio State has better football players than Michigan does. But does that approach hurt them as well? That trying to say, well, it's just another game while Ohio State's, spending a random Tuesday in March doing up downs because, dedicated just to beating you. Yeah,
I think it's one of those things where they know how important it is, but they just try to deflect it, downplay it, just because like when your record's that poor at it, it's like if you have something that's a major deficiency, I don't think that you want to highlight it necessarily. You don't want to, in recruiting, don't worry about Ohio State because we haven't beaten them since 2011 or 2011, which is insane. I think that they take it seriously. Those guys know how important it is up there, but I just don't. When you've had so little success and everything else is kind of going wrong, I just don't think that they have as much time to focus on it. That's like the thing that Harbaugh's got wrong. See, he knows how important the game is. He played in it. Like, it's not like he's some guy who's from some other score or whatever. Like, he played in it. He made his he guaranteed to win. Like, he gets it. But they haven't been able to find success, and it's crazy how much talent they've had go up there that hasn't developed. I mean, you watch Donovan Peoples-Jones today catch a 75-yard bomb, and like, I don't know if he ever did that at Michigan. He's doing the NFL. I mean, they've got a bunch of O-linemen that are playing in the NFL. They're playing at a super high level. A bunch of O-linemen are playing well. And I don't remember their O-line being a factor last year or even the year before. And they had 4 guys get drafted this year. And there's just something that's off up there. And it's going to be interesting to see if he sticks around to fix it or if they move on.
Well, this is... Of all the weeks of the Buckeye calendar, this is like the high holy days for Ohio State fans. So if people are thinking about like, I wonder if I should join Buckeye Scoop, why don't you let them know why this would be probably a pretty good week to do that?
Well, I mean, obviously Michigan week's huge. We've got this push towards National Signing Day, which is coming in a couple of weeks. We've got the Urban Meyer stuff we're breaking daily, basically daily updates. It'll be all wrapped up Tuesday. He's gonna not go to Texas, but
spoiler alert! Come on, spoiler alert!
I know, spoiler alert. Well, I mean, I've got it, but let him string him along a little bit longer. But and plus, we got the playoff push. The playoffs are coming, so I mean, everyone's going to want to know what's going on in practice, what's going on Seth Hayes. We've got a fabulous team. Obviously, we've got a lot of stuff upswinging. So join the Scoop family. I mean, people always wonder what to get people for Christmas. I'm like, join the Scoop. I'm telling you, it's like you don't need any more socks. You don't need another spatula. You don't need, another whatever. Another like warm lather machine from JCPenney or whatever. Like I always walk by the little tables at Nordstrom's or whatever. They got a bunch of like stuff. If you don't know what to get Dad, you can get them this electronic tie organizer or something. And it's like, he's not going to want that. He wants to be a part of the Scoop. So it's a great Christmas gift. And Hanukkah too. Kwanzaa, any other holiday you guys celebrate. It's a perfect gift for any of those.
And if you don't want to ask for it, you can just try it for yourself for a month. And that first month right now includes the Michigan game, the Big Ten championship game, the playoff semifinals, and you're pushing up right on the national championship game as well. So give it a shot for a month, or get an annual membership and save yourself some money that way. But yes, you can do that all at BuckeyeScoop.com. Also, make sure you check out all of our great podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify. Just search Buckeye Scoop to find all of those. Tony Gerdeman and I are doing our annual Michigan Week, where we turn the Buckeye Weekly podcast into the Buckeye Daily podcast. We did a recorded one last night, and that will be in your feed already. We will have another podcast today, another podcast tomorrow, all the way up through game day. So it is Michigan Week. That means you are going to get a whole bunch of content all week long at BuckeyeScoop.com and with all of our podcasts as well. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a great day. We will talk to you tomorrow.